y'all making that trip. Was that in October or something like that?
It's in October.
Or is it
It's October, so they're supposed to call you and I said, the next person, gonna be big coach. Right, Mayor Pro Tem isn't there.
that's a ways away. So.
We'll make
Or
sure
the-
you get like what you're supposed to say and all that stuff.
I'm assuming we're gonna have a semi-light Nothing too,
Nothing too heavy.
Billy gotta move out. Billy gotta move out. Billy gotta move out. He says too late, Billy. Too late for you.
Yeah, is it lean back too far?
What? I guess I'm throwing it away. Yeah. I thought you called her loose. Um. God, what?
Tuesday at 6, you ready? Gonna be there. Here.
Forgot to give this to you. Did it start on time?
We'll call to order the City of Douglasville City Council Committee meetings for tonight, which is Thursday, September the 12th, 2024. We will have, I thought I had the wrong dates. So we will have our invocation, and I apologize, my iPad, thank you. Our invocation will be done by Dr. Stephen J. Callis, Senior Pastor of First Church of Nazarene, and then the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by the Mayor Pro Tem City Council Member Terry Miller. Please stand for the invocation. Welcome, Pastor.
Good evening. Thank you again for your service and dedication to our community. We appreciate it. Let's bow. Loving Heavenly Father, we thank you for the privilege to gather in this place to talk about the things of our community. I thank you for these leaders who stand before us and ask, O Lord, your continued guidance and hand upon each one. And tonight that we would sense your presence and experience your divine wisdom in all of the business matters to take place. Father, this week we are remembering once again a horrible day in our nation, after which the citizens of this country came together. And we saw resilience and determination and perseverance, unity, and we continue to pray for that among our people. Thank you again for your sovereignty and your hand on all things. And for that, we give you praise. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem, for leading us in the pledge, and thank you so much, Pastor. We appreciate the invocation and the prayer, and we will continue to remember our community in Georgia with that school shooting, and as they're funeralizing those teachers and the students, we'll keep everyone in prayer. I'd like to welcome you to the Douglasville City Council. This is a committee meeting, a legislative work session, I apologize, where items will be taken tonight but not voted on until next Monday. My name is Rochelle Robinson. I'm mayor of the city of Douglasville. This work session will have items that are discussed tonight and then voted again on Monday at 6 p.m. If the business you're here for is not listed as an agenda item, there will be ample time under the agenda item, comments from citizens and delegates, for you to discuss your business. I'll go over a few protocol issues and items, and then we'll get into the meat of the meeting. I ask that you please keep your comments and presentations on a professional level, dealing with the facts that are important for this governing body to make our decisions. We will not accept comments that are considered by the chair to be of a personal attack on any individual or group of individuals. You will receive a warning if that happens, and after the second warning deviation from this requirement, we will ask you to leave the premises of the chambers. Only one person speaking at a time. When you come to the podium and speak in the microphone, we ask that you would please address all of your concerns and comments to myself and council members. And if you will not carry on a conversation or speak from the audience, cheer or be disruptive when you're at the podium, just direct all of your concerns to myself or council members and committee chairs. This is how the meeting will take place this evening in the protocol. If you have a cell phone, we ask that you please put those in silent mode or turn those off until after the meeting so they will not be disruptive. So the agenda items will be handled in the following manner. The committee chairperson will read their agenda item. Then that person representing that agenda item or applicant will make his or her presentation. After that, myself, council members will probably ask clarifying questions so that we'll have an opportunity to get a better understanding to help us to vote on these items next Monday at 6 p.m. After that, the committee chairperson will ask for comments or statements from the audience in a public hearing format, and there are 20 minutes for those that are in favor of the item and 20 minutes for those in opposition, and each person has 5 minutes to speak. Now, prior to coming to the podium, there are some speaker cards outside. They're blue cards on the desk. We ask that you please pick those cards up, put your name and address on the card, and hand it to our Assistant City Clerk, Ms. Candace James, and she will certainly put that information in the record. So each person just come one opportunity to speak. It's not a question and answer format or debate. We're here to hear the information, deliberate, and make our decision next week. I believe that's it outside of if you have any printed materials. I ask that you please turn those materials in to our Assistant City Clerk, Ms. Candace, and she will make copies and pass those copies out to myself and council members. That's a lot of talking. Hopefully, we're all on the same page and we all have an understanding on how the meeting will take place this evening. So now we do have an agenda. You can follow us on the screen above me, above my head, or there are some paper agendas outside on the desk. So we are beyond the first 4 items, and now we will go through the committees, and they will make their reports, and that's how the meeting will run this evening. So the first committee to report is Economic Development Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business under the Economic Development Committee at this time.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem. Finance Committee is chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
We have several items to cover tonight. Item A, authorize the mayor to sign a proposal and contract with Comprehensive Program Services, Inc. for project management services for renovations to the Douglasville Conference Center in the amount of $180,000. And Ms. Rosado will start us off.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Samantha Rosado, 6700 Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia. In front of you all is a contract and proposal with Comprehensive Program Services for the project management for the Douglasville Conference Center renovations. This is slated to be a 19-month execution. We have just recently closed out the RFQ. We will go before you relatively soon to look at the whole proposal for the renovations, but CPS did assist with the RFP and the questions for it to ensure that we have the scope of services and that we are selecting the best business for this project. They have also worked on the town green, and they've also worked on the recycling center, and so the staff's recommendation is going forward with CPS for these professional services.
Thank you, Ms. Rosado. Any questions, council? Yes, ma'am, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. So, Ms. Rosado, you said it was going to take how long? 6 months?
We are looking at 19 months with CPS.
Oh,
That's only because we're
19
looking at
months.
starting the process now to look at
19.
drawings, and we're going to start with procurement and things like that, just to make sure that we can stay within our timeline. And then CPS will stay after the project. The contract does say that they'll stay with us 365 days afterwards to make sure that if there's any issues with the punch list and things like that, that they'll assist with the follow-through.
Okay, so we're going to be displaced, oh, bless you.
So-
We'll be displaced for 19 months, or you'll do phases before you have us to leave the chambers and go somewhere else?
No, ma'am, they'll just start with the beginning phases. So once we present you all with the approved vendor that staff's recommending, they'll start with the process at that point. So that's when the 19 months will begin.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Ms. Rosado.
So the actual 19 months does not include actual renovations. That'll be a shorter period of time. Our contract with them will be for 19 months, correct?
That is correct,
Okay,
yes, sir.
thank you. Any other questions or comments from council? Okay.
Yes.
Councilman Davis.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you said the RSP went out for bid.
Yes, sir.
How many takers did we have?
The RFP for construction, I think we had 5 or 6, but we'll go over that whenever we present to you in a few meetings. We'll go over the full construction RFP with you all. This is just for the professional services of CPS to assist with the project management.
Project management, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, not for the bid work, okay.
One of the things you pointed out earlier to me, I thought was, the actual help that they have given us preparing the RSP Can you just kind of cover that real quick?
Yes, sir. So Steve and Jacob are here this evening. I worked with them heavily with the town green renovations. Just a few weeks ago, I met with Jacob on site and Marcus and a few other staff members, and we went through the town green to go through punch list and any warranty items. So CPS still a year after has been assisting with the follow-through and the communication. And just in the same, they've already started preliminary working just to ensure that through the RFQ process for the renovation that we were asking the appropriate questions because they are the experts in this field.
Thank you. Do these gentlemen, either one of these gentlemen, have anything to like to say? Go ahead. Name and address for the record, thank you.
Yes, sir. Steve Morrow, 2005 Goldenrod Road, Roswell, Georgia. No, we were here simply that if there were any questions about the process, because this is going to be a design build, as Samantha kind of pointed out, we are going to go through that entire sort of design process. That's why it's so lengthy first, and the contractor will participate and will price and will go through the process of selecting everything that we will do through the different phases of work. And then once we've decided on all of that, then the construction phase would start. Back to your question, Mayor, is we'll plan out sort of the displacement that when we get into this space, we'll have that space and be able to do it and displace you for that amount of time, do the work, allow you to come back when we move to a different location. But the planning of all of that is what's going to take place for a long period of time to get it all planned out, designed, and decided to make sure that we meet the budget that the city has set for the project. So that's what, and we're very excited about the opportunity to work with Samantha again and the city. This is we've spent a lot of time in this building, so we're ready to help freshen it up to give it a new future.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, just so folks understand what the roles are, the purpose of the city hiring a project manager for a design-build project like this, these tend to be very complex, and cities do not have staff members who are necessarily have a background or training in the design-build field, and so it's important to have a consultant who will kind of help you walk through the process and basically act as the owner's representative. Oftentimes describe it. It's similar to the way you hire a lawyer for the same reason, to represent you, and that's where you have to have somebody who has your interest as part of the process, so that you can't. Nobody up here is going to be able to speak in construction terms or use the terminology or understand the processes or the details of why change orders come in necessarily, and it's good to have somebody there in your court who's going to be basically helping you understand it and fight for your, in construction, things can go horribly south very quickly if you don't know what you're doing. And what we're spending for a consultant is a fraction of what we could be spending if things go badly during the construction. So just wanted that to be clear for everyone to understand.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? I'd like, if it'd be okay with council, to place this on the consent agenda.
Don't
For
see any
Monday?
opposition. Looks good.
Okay. All right, let's move on to item B. Thank you, Mr. Sardo. Thank you all. Item B, authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Baldwin Paving Company, Inc. pursuant to RFB 2024-007 for the LMIG 2024 resurfacing project in the amount of $2,492,907.32. So, Mr. Roberts, yes, 32 cents. We had to get that in there.
That's a lot of numbers.
Why didn't we just round down on that?
I don't know.
Got to have it to the penny.
I guess. All right, go ahead.
Greg Roberts, Public Services Department. Thank you, Mayor, Council. Yes, this is a combination of LMEG funds from GDOT and SPLOST funds. Our estimated total going into this was about $2.6 million, but the this contractor came in at $2.4 million, as Councilmember Watts just mentioned. We did have 9 contractors, as you probably saw on the list. Some of them were a lot more than that. I believe we had great contractors. Some have worked for us before, some have not. Baldwin has worked for us before. It's been about 6 or 7 years. We've had conversation with them about what we would expect, and so I feel like we've got a great contractor coming in to do this project for us. But there are 31 streets, And as you can see on your list, they're pretty well represented throughout the city and all the wards. Not to backtrack on time, but this is a far different crowd than what we were doing several years ago when we were doing a cul-de-sac here and a cul-de-sac there, and just wasn't doing a cul-de-sac everywhere. So thanks to the citizens of this city and to the mayor and council and to city staff, we've really gotten caught up on streets. That is a truth. And what you will notice, you'll see blocks of streets being resurfaced in areas, all in the same area, and not just running all over town. We're trying to cover a lot of things. A lot of these streets were streets that I was a part of installation 25, 30 years ago. And so that's a testament to good inspection process, and we get a lot of value out of our streets, and hopefully that'll continue for years to come.
Could you, Mr. Roberts, just give us a brief rundown on how these streets are chosen, what the criteria was? Because some folks think their streets aren't being paid attention to, and there's a process.
Yeah, so as most of you recall, and AECOM engineering firm that works for the city on a lot of transportation projects, they do every 3 or 4 years, they update the rating system. And these are streets that we would have discussed probably close to a year ago, maybe 10 months ago, to put on these lists. They're presented to the elected officials, and so we do the selection based on that rating and usage of those streets. And so I think we're doing great on getting those bottom numbers. If you remember about 6 or 7 years ago, we had streets that were, I would have rated them 0, but they were rated like 1. So now we're paving streets that have a better rating. In fact, if you'll look on this list where you see PCI, that is the rating that you see. It's highlighted in yellow. And so some of those streets are rated a little higher than others, but the lowest one on the list, I think, is 32.3, maybe there is a 28.8. And so we're getting rid of a lot of those streets that have been needing to be addressed. Now, some of those streets are newer, but I didn't inspect those. It was turned back to me about 11 years ago. But so I think we'll see those streets that are less than 15 years old. We're about to get all those addressed. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. I just wanted, for the benefit of our anybody listening in, to know the process. Madam Mayor?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Director Roberts, I know you were talking about the streets, and of course, they're ranked based on the conditions of the streets. So the ones that are in the worst conditions received a higher number or lower number. I don't remember. But anyway.
The higher number is better condition. The lower number
is
a worse condition.
Yes, so that's how we rate the streets. And so I've been paying attention. You're doing a great job. So outside of the conference center, since we're talking about the conference center now, you know how you taught me about alligator? It looked like it's alligator.
Here on the conference center, the little ring road? Yeah, maybe.
You said alligator's still a good street?
Yeah,
It's
but
a
it's not
gator in the
failing, but it
house.
can be addressed at some point in time.
Okay.
Maybe sooner rather than later. It's such a small area.
Yeah.
But I don't have much comment on that, but
So much comment. So it won't be on the list necessarily if it's alligatoring the street. If the citizens see their street looks like an alligator's back, it's just a little worn. It's not ready to be like resurfaced yet, right?
it depends on if you've got actual street failure. Like
Okay.
when you drive over it,
If it bumps
if
in
you
there.
feel it, it could have some, but we don't have a lot of that.
Okay.
From time to time, there might be one area worse than another, but generally speaking, that's not a huge issue. But we can probably address. This is a very small area that you're referring to. We
Yes,
could
sir.
probably address that.
Yeah, I saw a gator coming in the house yesterday outside, those streets out there. But thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And one last thing I would point out is, just make sure everybody understands, sometimes that comes up internally. So this is quantity bidding. So what we try to do, we put a lot of items in these bids to give us flexibility in the field, because I hate change orders. And so generally speaking, we do not come back with change orders on these projects. So we've added a lot of things into it. So that does give us the flexibility, and the contractor's aware. That gives us the flexibility to not do some things that we do not find necessary to do. And so we've got a lot of components to this bid that allows us to make repairs.
Any other questions or comments from council? All right, thank you, Mr. Roberts. Madam Mayor, I'd like to ask that this be placed on the consent agenda, if it's okay with council.
I see heads shaking yes.
All right.
Looks like a
Thank
go.
you. Item C, adopt an ordinance to amend the City of Douglasville's fiscal year 2023-2024 general fund budget. Ms. Callen will lead the way over the next few items.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Karen Callen, 6695 Church Street, Assistant City Manager. This general fund budget amendment is for fiscal year '24. We are currently in fiscal year '25. For fiscal year '24, that ends June 30, but we still get invoices in. So we are just now amending the budget for, in case you're wondering why, we're just now amending the budget for fiscal year '24. So our total revenues, revenue line items that we're increasing are, we are transferring money from the hotel motel tax fund to cover some of the amphitheater cost. As we mentioned in our meeting earlier, that the concert series are in part funded by hotel motel taxes. Courts, increasing that line item. Police department reimbursements for insurance checks, and then various line items for parks, for a total revenue increase of $2.5 million. And on expenditures, we do have full-time various department line items for increases in our percentage of our merit increase. In fiscal year '24, we did have a maximum of 5%, but in fiscal year '25, we have bumped that down to a maximum of 3%. We have machinery and equipment and IT, professional fees in the finance department. West Pines operations, $48,000 for cart path repairs. And we have a net increase of 2.4 for our contingency line. And that finishes up fiscal year '24. Any questions on the general fund budget for fiscal year '24?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Director Callen, I thought we did the cart path repairs at West Pines. Like it was a large amount we did, and we like repaired all the cart paths. No?
That might be a different project, because I know there is a good bit going on.
Mr. Director Bass? I don't know why I remember that. I could be off. So we would need to have an amendment.
Yes, ma'am. Chris Bass, Parks and Recreation Director, 8830 Gurley Road. That was actually budgeted for FY25. There were some small repairs we were able to take care of in-house, but this is the big project to take care of a lot of those cart path repairs.
Okay, so we voted on to make the repairs for 2025 budget, but this for 2024 is just a smaller portion.
Yes,
of it.
ma'am.
Okay, so I know it was a larger number. Thank you so much for clearing that up. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on this item? All right. I'd like to place this on the consent agenda for Monday also. That'd be all right with council?
Mm-hmm.
Hang around, Ms. Callen.
Yes, sir.
We've got item D. Adopt an ordinance to amend the City of Douglasville's fiscal year 2024-2025 general fund budget. Ms. Callen.
Thank you. This is our first quarter budget amendment for fiscal year '25. We have $1.7 million of encumbrances that we are carrying forward. Those are budgets that were approved in the prior year. The money was not expensed. So we're carrying over those to fiscal year '25, and there's a detailed listing at the end of your attachment. It's highlighted in blue, that gives you every detail of the 1.6 million that we're carrying forward. And those are projects that might have started later in the year or still have some work to do on those.
Okay.
And for the expenditures, in the memo, you'll see that we do have a special projects coordinator position moved from the city manager's office. Buildings and grounds, repairs needed, unanticipated on the HVAC units. Some full-time line items in engineering, street maintenance, cleanup of the brush and overgrowth at the old mill site. Full-time line items for the new positions in parks due to opening of Jesse Davis. And then a contingency, we offset those increased expenditures from the contingency line. So as usual, every year, we build in a contingency, and if some unanticipated expenses occur, we are able to offset those. Any questions on the fiscal year '25?
Anybody? Like to place this on the consent agenda for Monday?
Looks good.
All right, moving right along. Item E, adopt an ordinance to amend the City of Douglasville's fiscal year 2024-2025 debt service fund.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This budget amendment is just combining two funds. We had two funds for the Public Safety Administration building and the Jesse Davis Park bonds for the debt service payment. But when we receive payment from the tax commissioner's office, the revenues in from the tax proceeds, they come on one check, so it's more efficient for us on an accounting basis to combine the funds. But the net effect is zero.
Any questions on that, council? Another item I'd like to place on the consent agenda for Monday. All right. Thank you, Ms. Callan. That looks like, all right, moving on to F, adopt an ordinance to amend the City of Douglasville's fiscal year 2024-2025 Jesse Davis Park Construction Fund balance, and Ms. Campbell will handle this.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council. Heather Campbell, Accounting Manager, 6695 Church Street. So this budget amendment is for JD Park Construction Fund. We are looking at increasing interest income received as well as account for expenditures from change orders. So the interest income will be increased by $915,000. But if you look towards the end of the budget amendment, there's an issuance bond cost that is for arbitrage. So that's, for example, if interest is at 4 and we receive 7, we have to pay back the 3. So that will take out $500K from our interest earnings. And then the other revenue item is we are adding $300K additional from general fund. We're doing a transfer from general fund for the construction for JD Park. So the total increase in revenues is $1.2 million. For expenditures, we're reducing other professional services based on actuals. We have money still encumbered there, but it was less than what we were originally planning, and some of it was moved to the construction line. And then property site improvements, we are increasing due to the change orders from the construction that were approved. The furniture and fixtures, we're increasing based on actual amounts that were spent on the furniture for the new buildings. Then to offset the costs, we are reducing contingency by $1.99 million, and that's based on the approved change orders. I'll answer any questions.
So the 1.99 comes out of contingency, so.
Yes, sir.
Okay. When we do that, remind me in the audience, at some point, we try to replace that and put it back into contingency at some point, or?
So for the project,
Okay.
generally, we'll use the contingency
Gotcha.
to offset the change orders, so we don't necessarily try to increase it back.
Gotcha. Thank you. Any comments from council? Like to place this item on a consent agenda? Item G, adopt an ordinance to amend the City of Douglasville's fiscal year 2024-2025 SPOS 2022 budget. Ms. Campbell?
Yes. So this will be to amend the SPOS 2022 budget to add projects that have been decided to progress. So we will be increasing this SPOS revenues that we receive by $6.68 million for the expenditures. So the projects that are being added in facility SPOS, we have 3. One is for parking deck repairs. That'll be to repair, like when it rains really bad, you know how the water drips down? It'll be to repair that. And then tearing down the airway facility for the multi-use development that will be built. And then the Ike Owings Community Center restroom renovations, which was at a previous meeting with you that you approved. Under public space safety SPOS, we have 3 projects that are being added, including the land for the public safety driving course, the PD shop expansion to add an additional maintenance bay, and the fiber and security system at Jesse Davis Park. And that'll loop into the FUSIS, that center that public safety has. And then finally for parks, we have 5 projects being added. There's the Bright Star Road Park feasibility concept designs. That's already gone through. We were just including the budget in for it. The Fowler Field Park improvements. The trail addition between Hunter Park and the new stadium for Douglas County. There was an agreement with Douglas County School Board for that. The design fees for the administrative building at Hunter Park, which will take the place of the offices currently at Club Drive. Because we won't have that building for parks anymore. And then irrigation replacement at West Pines.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Any questions? Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Heather, I had a couple of questions. Under the facilities for SPOST, the parking deck repairs, is the parking deck out here connected to the conference center when the water comes through?
Yes, ma'am.
It costs $600,000 to
Yes, ma'am. They'll also be cleaning up a lot, like the walls where they're kind of dingy and everything, but it'll be, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then the other one is the trail addition between Hunter Park and the new stadium with Douglas County School System. So it's connecting to their Legacy Arena.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it going to be a walking trail? I can't remember.
It's more of a path, to be honest. We are paying for half of it with the county.
So
this would be our
175
half.
is half?
Yes, ma'am.
For just a walk in the woods?
Yes, ma'am.
You're not
For
walking in
real?
the woods very much.
I mean,
Take a-
people walking across it free for now. I
Yeah.
mean, for now, they just walking across from the Hunter Park to the Legacy Trails.
Yeah.
For real? Are we putting anything in it? I mean, what's it going to look like for that much money?
Mr. Bass will come up.
Here
Because I've
comes
walked
Mr.
through there
Bass.
before. It's just, you just walk through the woods.
Tell us about it, Mr. Bass.
Yes,
Not that
yes,
much.
ma'am. So the agreement that we brought before you with the school system was that we do pay for half, and what that includes is actual cart path for
Okay.
transportation between our parking lot and their parking lot, along with some park benches. There's some lighting along so that people who frequent the park just want to sit down and relax, they actually can. So there was some landscaping involved in that. So it gives us access to their parking lot and them access to our parking lot.
Okay, so when they have events, high school graduations and the like, people can park in our Hunter Park and then walk across
Yes, ma'am.
to get to Legacy Arena, and vice versa.
Yes, ma'am. And to that point, so you can walk, but they engineered it so that you also can drive golf carts or something like that.
So that's what
from
we're
side.
paying for.
Yes,
That's more than, okay, because I know, I was going to say, I walk across there now for free, but I understand what you're talking about. All right, thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Bass. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Heather.
Any other questions from council? Anybody? All right, I'd like to place this item on the consent agenda for Monday if possible. And Madam Mayor, thank you, Ms. Campbell. That's all I have tonight under finance.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to staff for assisting us with those issues and agenda items. We'll move on to item 7, Housing and Community Affairs Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Howard Estes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business this evening for Housing and Community Affairs.
Thank you, sir. Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee, chaired by Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, City Councilmember Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business under the Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee at this time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Personnel and Organization Committee, chaired by Councilman Howard Estes.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. The Personnel and Organization Committee has no business this evening.
Thank you, sir. Planning and Development Committee, chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You do have business.
I do.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, our first item is item number 24-290. That is to adopt a proposed ordinance to amend section 34-38 of the code, 34 through 38 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Douglasville to provide for the chairman of the Planning Commission to serve as a tiebreaker vote, to repeal any conflicting ordinances, to provide an effective date and other purposes. And Ms. Shayla Reed's going to go over this item with us.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Shayla
Good
Reed,
evening.
Community Development Director, 6695 Church Street. Currently, you have in your municipal code, technically the charter, that allows for the chairperson of your planning commission to have the same vote authorities as the planning commissioners as a whole. But then your UDO says that he only has the authority, or they only have the authority to break ties. So it causes a conflict on where the authority lies for the chairperson. So we are looking to mirror that with how your board operates, with the chair being the mayor, allowing for that to be only a tiebreaker. So that particular text amendment will allow for the planning commission chairperson to only break ties of a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you so much for explaining that to us. I think it was pretty self-explanatory, but council, do you guys have questions regarding this item?
I do have a quick question, Madam Chair. I can't remember, I was on the planning, when it was the zoning board years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
And I can't recall, how do you become the chair and vice chair? You voted from within?
I don't know that answer. I'm sorry. I think I can look into the code to determine that, but I know the co-chair is actually voted upon amongst the board, but I'm not certain of the actual chair.
So do we appoint the chair?
Any longer. You all
Okay, so they appoint the chair amongst themselves?
don't. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but before we appointed the chair? Okay. The council, all right, thank you, Madam Chairman.
Absolutely. Ms. Reed, did you need any other direction from us?
No, ma'am,
Or
just
to
the,
move along? Council, are
ma'am.
you guys okay with placing this on the consent agenda?
Looks like a yes.
Okay. Our next item is item 24-291. Says to adopt a proposed ordinance to amend section 82 through 177 of the Code of Ordinance for the City of Douglasville to reference towing rates for vehicles. And Ms. Shayla Reed is going to go over this information with us also.
yes, ma'am. Your current municipal codes have the actual fees for towed vehicles. Those particular fees are what the towing companies are using when cars are being towed within the city. You all have that authority to determine the amounts that they're charging for those actual towed vehicles being stored. And so we've worked together to determine that the rates have increased because the market has increased. And so instead of there being language where we're updating those fee amounts, we're asking to put language in that says to update this amount every annual budget approval. So during your budget approval, we'll just add this into your items as well with the budget moving forward, if this is adopted.
Thank you for that clarification. I know it makes sense to me. Council, do you guys have questions regarding this item? No? Are you okay with placing this on the consent agenda?
Yes.
Look at us. Next item is 24-293. Says to refer to the Planning Commission a proposed ordinance to amend section 8.04 of the Unified Development Ordinance regarding the Metro Water District Water Efficiency Code. Ms. Shayla Reed, can you explain this one to us also?
Yes, ma'am. Sometime back in June, we asked for permission to send this over to the state for their review. You may recall that the state is requiring that all cities or all municipalities update their codes for plumbing materials and plumbing standards. And so we've updated that file and sent it over to the state for their review. We've waited 60 days for that, and we're now able to move it forward. So we're asking permission to take this to the Planning Commission, as this is a UDO text amendment. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we're just looking to send this to the Planning Commission, guys. So you guys have questions regarding this item? No? You okay with placing this on the consent agenda? Beautiful. Thank you so much. Madam Mayor, that is all I have this evening for planning and development.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Miller and Director Reed. We appreciate your support. We'll move on to Public Relations Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
This have no business, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman Davis. Public Safety Committee, the Vice Chair. Oh, did I skip something? Public Improvement?
I have more for you.
Oh, I saw your name again.
You
Let me
guys
go
got
backwards.
excited
I'm
trying to get
driving.
rid of me.
I got a ticket. Don't give me a ticket, Deputy Chief. Okay. Public Improvement and Beautification Committee, chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor.
I apologize.
No, it's quite all right. We only have one item this evening,
Mm-hmm.
and that is item 24-307. Says to authorize the mayor to sign an easement to Georgia Power Company for the purpose of allowing the installation of a distribution line at 8145 Cedar Mountain Road in Douglasville, Georgia. And we have Miss Alicia Mann down here. I'm sorry, it said Marcus Thompson. I was like,
Alicia Mann, Project Manager, 6695 Church Street. The easement package you all have in front of you today is just to allow Georgia Power to install transformer and underground distribution lines to supply power to the future recycling center.
Thank you. Yes, this is our very much long anticipated recycling center.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have questions regarding this item? No? You guys okay with placing this on the consent agenda also? Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Mann. Madam Mayor, that is all that we have for public improvement and beautification.
Thank you so much, Madam Chairman. I apologize for skipping that item. It's very important. Thank you, Ms. Mann. So we've already talked to Councilmember Davis, and we'll move on to Public Safety Committee. The Vice Chair is Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
welcome.
We have one item tonight under Public Safety. Consider a request for the alcoholic beverage licenses for the retail package sale of wine and malt beverages at the following location. Proposed licensee, Principal Hotel Group LLC, DBA Hampton Inn and Suites. Location 999 Bob Arnold Boulevard. Proposed outlet manager Tiffany Dixon. The required fees have been paid to the Finance Department. And we'll start off with Ms. Callen.
Yes, Karen Callen, 6695 Church Street, Assistant City Manager. On this item, we consulted with Attorney Woodward and Attorney Dodson this afternoon because it is for, this license is for a retail package sale license. The exemption from the distance requirement in our ordinances, Section 1018, does not apply. Even if it is, even if it's in a hotel, the exemption for hotel only works when it's a license for on-premises consumption. So if council were to consider this application, they will have no choice but to deny the application, as granting the retail package sale license would be unlawful for a location that does not meet the distance requirements. So the recommendation is to take no action on Monday.
Thank you, Ms. Callen. Is Ms. Dixon here this evening, or someone representing this application could come forward? And if you would, state your name and address for the record, sir.
Name is Bipin Hira, 3251 Twisted Branches Lane, Marietta, Georgia, 30068. I'm the actual owner of the hotel. This is a requirement by Hilton that we start selling beer and wine at the hotel in the market, which is a small street shop, basically. And that's where the application was filed. We were aware of the university that's right across the street, but this sale is just going to be strictly, pretty much strictly to the hotel guest. Nobody's going to walk into our market space for buying the alcohol, so to speak. So requesting to see if there is a variance that can be applied so that we can mandate the sale. And in next project that I'm doing right next door to it will also have the same consequences, which is a Homewood Suites, which we will be serving beer and wine as per the Hilton standard to the guest during our manager's reception every night. So that's my case.
Okay, thank you, sir. We will take this up on Monday. Thank you for coming forward.
Thank you. Any
All right,
questions?
Any questions?
Yes, go ahead.
Just want to provide some information to you all, and we will be following up with legal staff to get, to have some further information for you all on Monday. But just to give further clarification for the applicant, there is not a variance process. This would be a requirement for you all to change your package store ordinance, which would apply to all package stores. This is for package sales. So, and the ordinance change in this manner would not be able to happen by Monday. As you all know, this would have to go through the lengthy process, including going before zoning in order to change your alcohol ordinance that would apply to package stores. But something that you have to consider, if you were to do something in this manner, it would open up for all package stores. So we will get with legal to get more information to you on Monday, but there is not a variance process.
Thank you, Ms. Hampton. All right, well, thank you. We'll leave this on the agenda for Monday and address it then. Thank you. Yes, Madam Mayor?
I do have a quick question. So, City Manager, based on what you're saying, that we would have to change our ordinance, doesn't the state already have a requirement? We can't supersede what the state says, can we?
Correct. It wouldn't be so much superseding what the state says. Your current state ordinance for distance requirement, or the current ordinance that you have related to distance requirement, the state's distance is 200. You're at, I think, 600. My only mentioning in this is that this wouldn't just apply to the hotel. This would apply to all package stores if you were to accommodate this request. So by opening up the ordinance, you're opening up for all package stores. So I don't necessarily know if you all are comfortable with that, because one of the things that you all have talked a lot about is distance requirements as it relates to package stores in general. You just cannot be less restrictive than, you cannot, should say, you can't supersede what the state has. So that is the reason why this is this way.
And it's the proximity of the package store for schools and churches.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And legal will be back from their conference on Monday to give you further clarification. But any changes to this ordinance would not be able to take place definitely by Monday. And it would have to go through the entire process, that similar process that you went through when you changed the alcohol ordinance before. It took several months to do so.
Okay.
And just, considering it wouldn't just be for hotels, it would cover the gamut of individuals that sold for package.
Now, currently at the establishment for Mr. Bippen, he can pour alcohol currently.
On premise is different from package.
On premise is different from taking the little, the bottle you get in a hotel room, or
Correct.
that you can purchase from the refrigerator.
Yeah, there is an exemption in the code for on-premise for hotels, but that exemption does not apply for package sales.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hampton. Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, sir. We'll take this up on Monday. Madam Mayor, that's all I had tonight under public safety.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Like Mr. Bippen had another question or something. But we'll move on then to the next committee. After Public Safety is Public Relations Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember, we already went through that one. We are Recreation, Culture, and Tourism. That's you again, Coach.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight in Recreation, Culture, and Tourism.
Thank you. Technology Committee chaired by Councilmember Elena Hudson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business under the Technology Committee this evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, would you please take Transportation Committee?
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. There's no business this evening under the Transportation Committee.
Thank you so much, sir. Do we have any other business to come before council tonight from the elected officials? I don't see any. I did want to ask a question. I know when Ms. Mann came forward and she talked about Cedar Mountain and underground utilities, and that Georgia Power is going to be doing the underground utilities. They're getting prepared for our Cedar Mountain facility for recycling outside of the conference center. Is that still, I know City Manager and you and I talked about that earlier, the bricks right outside. Is that underground utilities? Is it WSA? Is it us?
That's water sewer. Mr. Roberts, are you prepared to discuss the project out front, in front of the conference center?
I know it's been
The water
raining.
sewer project That's the one you're mentioning, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So so the contractor for WSA, there's about 3 different aspects to it. So they've poured the curb. I would have to check it to see where they're at on getting the pavers completed, but I believe they're really close to being wrapped up, other than this rain that we've had today and for tomorrow probably.
Okay.
But I can check with Benton, Georgia, who is the subcontractor, to see what the status is.
Yes, sir. Thank you. That's all. I was wondering what the status was. Seemed to have been out there for, not a long time, but
Well,
enough
it's been
time.
going
It
on
just looked
for
like something was moving.
6 or 7 weeks.
Mhm.
But as we've discussed, the utilities, not just the water, but the
Yes,
utilities
utilities.
in this part of downtown Douglasville are very old. And some of the water lines, and hopefully no gas lines, but every now and then, they'll find a gas service line that's still in service that was thought to be shut off 40 years ago. And so that's what happened. You know, we resurfaced that road last year, and that vibration, we knew we would have issues starting about right here all the way down to Campbellton because of rock under the subsurface here. The utilities are a little bit more shallow. They're
Okay.
not quite as deep as they would normally be. And so going over the top of that with all that equipment,
Okay.
it has just generated, and when there's 1 leak, you'll have 2. That's just dealing with old infrastructure. That's the way that tends to.
All right. Thank you so
work
much, Mr. Roberts. I appreciate that. That's all I had under other business. Thank you, City Manager and Mr. Roberts. We'll move on to updates from our city staff. We know that our legal, they're at a conference right now, so we'll move on to the Police Department. Our Deputy Chief, Mr. J.R. Davison.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Chief. Our City Manager, Ms. Marcia Hampton.
Yes, ma'am. As mentioned, legal will be here at your 5 o'clock meeting to further discuss your alcohol ordinance as it related to the application at 5 o'clock on Monday. And then for your executive session, we will only need to discuss property acquisition. We don't need to discuss a personnel item. And with that being said, that's all I have unless anyone has any further questions from the 4 o'clock meeting this afternoon.
Doesn't look like. Thank you so much, City Manager. We'll move on now to comments from citizens and delegates. If you sustain the meeting and you'd like to speak to us, please come forward to give us your name and address for the record. And you have 5 minutes to talk to us about any business that is germane to the city of Douglasville. We don't have any takers, as Councilman Davis says. Okay. No takers, then we'll move on to executive session. I will open the floor for a motion to adjourn into executive session to discuss a property acquisition.
So moved.
Thank you. I have a motion. Is there a second? Thank you. It's been properly moved in second to move into executive session to discuss property acquisition. And all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are in executive session to discuss a property acquisition. We need a recess, or you guys want to keep? Okay, I'm just going to push through.